What is going on, all of you amazing gamers out there in the world? I am Mega Amster. Thank you for checking out this YouTube video. Whether you are a new or returning viewer, appreciate you watching this video. And today, just very casually, very briefly, I'm very low energy today, wanted to talk about just the general concept of video game collections, because I feel like, especially in recent years, I see like opinions online of kind of both sides of the argument. I see a lot of people, myself included, who are excited when collections like these get announced, but I also see frustration, for example, from some fans who, you know, maybe would rather see a new game in a certain series rather than a re-release of older games. But I'm kind of here to talk about why like gaming collections are ultimately just a good thing, because all right, let's get into it though. The main announcement that spurred this video for me is, yes, the announcement of, as you're seeing here, Capcom Fighting Collection 2, which came out of nowhere for me, as we had just had the Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection announced pretty recently. And then, you know, Capcom dropped this announcement at the Nintendo Partner Direct we had in September. Actually, no, end of August it was, which absolutely out of nowhere for me. Like, I figured eventually they might bring some of these games back, but like the fact that it's this soon after announcing and before even release of the Marvel vs. Capcom Collection is crazy to me. And specifically here, I mean, the big games for me, if you've watched any of my stuff on this channel, is Power Stone. Power Stone 1 and 2 are childhood favorite games of mine growing up, playing those games on the Dreamcast, and being able to re-experience them in the modern era with online play is fantastic. And like, would I prefer, here's the thing, would I prefer a Power Stone 3? I don't know, because I don't know what Capcom would do with the Power Stone 3, right? I think for games like these that, and even like what, Capcom vs. SNK 1 and 2, fans, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, have those ever been re-released outside of like that generation that they came out in? Or like Project Justice, like any of these, Plasma Sword, have they ever been re-released? I know Power Stone 1 and 2 were on PSP, they had a collection there for whatever reason on the handheld, but getting them re-released on consoles for the first time since the original release is awesome. Let me know what the case is with these other games in this collection. This is only a good thing, because it's showing that, you know, especially a company like Capcom, who has so many different IP and historied franchises, even if they only had a couple collections and are considered like cult classics, getting them re-released for fans is fantastic. Like, and they're coming, of course, like these collections with like, you can do the soundtracks, you know, you can look through artwork and stuff like that, having the online, the enhanced features, rollback netcode, the secret characters here, just being able to unlock immediately, like, that's awesome. This is super duper cool. And as someone who is a fan of this game growing up, like, I am so happy. Now I don't have to hunt down, especially because of how expensive games in the retro market are these days, I don't have to hunt down a $200 plus copy of Power Stone 2 anymore. Like, and the first game, I only have like a Japanese version that I have to use like a almost Game Shark like disc to translate over and get it to even work on my American Dreamcast. Like, the fact that they can re-release this for the value that it is, I mean, the MVC collection, I think physically was 60, digitally was 50. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about that. I imagine this one's going to be the same. The value of that, I mean, in today's day and age, it's a little different. I suppose, you know, value is different for every person. But like, the fact that at most this is going to be $60. When these games originally came out, most of them were probably $60, even $70, because prices back in the day when these games released were a little higher. Especially like, I know like N64 games, maybe not Dreamcast games. I don't know how expensive those were when they launched, but just getting these back, some of these games out of the arcades, out of consoles that the hardware may no longer be functioning for a lot of these players who originally played the game on release, it's like, this is awesome. This is only a good thing. I can understand the frustration of wanting a new entry more so, especially if you're a fan of these games already, and, you know, maybe if you emulate these games, right? I see a big argument against these collections is, well, I can just pirate the games and play them with like online features and sometimes HD textures and stuff like that. And I'm like, fair, but a lot of gamers don't want to pirate games. They don't want to. So to have an option to officially support these games, and yes, I mean, give money to these publishers and developers, but at the same time, that is only going to show support for potential future games. Because if you're just pirating the game, I mean, that's not going to do anything to help support the franchise. You're just playing the games because you really enjoy them and you can for free. Like, great. But if you're like me, like, I want to be able to play these games officially, show Capcom. I mean, I'm only buying one copy, right? One copy means nothing in the grand scheme of things. But to purchase it, to feel like I'm helping to support these kinds of collections, these maybe the future of some of these fighting series. Honestly, I think Capcom vs. SNK I guess not 3, because there's what, the Chaos one, SVC Chaos, which was technically SNK's game. I think we could totally, and I think we may very well see another Capcom versus SNK in the near future, especially if this collection does well, which I mean, at this point, I assume it's going to do pretty well. Maybe not as well as Marvel vs. Capcom, because that's the bigger deal for sure. Speaking of which, let me switch over here. But like, it's great to see. This is a Mega Man song. This sounds very much like a Castlevania song, which we'll get to in a second. It's just crazy to see. And with Marvel vs. Capcom specifically, it's like, no one thought these games were coming back, because they were released on what, like the Xbox 360 store, like that era. They were re-released on that set of consoles, that generation of consoles, and then they were delisted because of the whole rights issues with Marvel. The fact that Capcom was able to work with Marvel to get the licensees for all of these MVC 1 and 2, X-Men Cross Street Fighter, Marvel Superheroes, all of these. Like, that is crazy to me. The fact that they were able to get the rights to all this, especially a game like this, Marvel Superheroes, where there's not even Capcom, it's just Marvel. You know what I mean? The fact that they were able to work out that license deal is awesome. So I only see collections like this as a good thing. It is showing that companies like Capcom are interested in reviving older IP, bringing them into the modern age with more modern sensibilities, and still keeping the original sentiment intact. It's not like they're remaking these games, but you know, to keep that same visual style and re-release them on more accessible modern platforms is just awesome. It's honestly awesome to see. I don't want to just talk about these collections the whole time. I got plenty of examples, even some previous ones, because I've seen some arguments of like, oh, we're not getting many new games anymore. We're only getting the older games re-released, either remasters or remakes or collections or whatever. And like, this has been going on for decades. These collections of games are way older than you realize. Of course, we had the Dominus collection, which fans have been requesting for a long time. They were originally on the Nintendo DS. They reworked some of the controls to work for the Switch. I don't even know. Actually, let me know, is this on other platforms? Did they put it on like Xbox, PlayStation 5, PC? I imagine they did. And they even they pretty much made a new game in this collection. The Haunted Castle Revisited apparently is a brand new version of the original arcade Haunted Castle game, which apparently is not very good. They pretty much made a brand new, complete remake of that game, which is awesome to see. That's going a little above and beyond what I expected these collections, but one of these I have to get because I've heard these games are fantastic. Like getting these games off of specific hardware is awesome. And it's especially awesome in a case like this, where, you know, originally these games were made with the DS in mind, right? They had the touchscreen, they had the separate dual screen functionality. There was a similar thing with, I know, The World Ends With You, which I know people seem hit or miss on the implementation there with the more recent version re-released during this generation. But like the fact that they were able to rework that for modern platforms that don't have that technology or don't have that hardware specification in mind is awesome. You know, it may not be perfect, but the fact that they're able to make them fully playable in that way is awesome. And apparently I hear this is like the definitive way to play these games. I don't know if it's because like they have the second screen right on the side in handheld mode, I'm not sure, or in dock mode I guess as well. Yeah, here's the remake they did. Like this is, they kind of went above and beyond with this. I'm honestly surprised this is coming from Konami, right? So great to get these games off the DS. Here's one for you Xbox fans. Halo Master Chief Collection. Now, from what I understand, I'm not super knowledgeable in Halo. From what I understand, these games have been available on other generations of consoles. I mean, where you had Halo 1 and 2 on Xbox. Was 3 on 360? Let me know. Like I said, I never played Halo growing up. My brother did, but I never played it. I was too young for it, I think, at the time. But to get them all in one package re-released, and, you know, just to have that ability to be able to play into these games, and in this case, like, I think you can switch between the original visuals and like more modern visuals for all these games and all the campaigns and multiplayer maps. Like, that's awesome. Like, this is and it's especially good for people who haven't played the original games, where, you know, if you're a newbie coming into something like this, like you've never played a Halo game before, like if I ever got this collection, like I'm getting so much content for bang for my buck right there, because there's just so many stories and stuff to experience. I forgot to include a few examples that come to mind as well, or like the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection, like having MGS 1 through 3, and was there another one in there? Maybe that was it. But still, to have those options, Crash Insane Trilogy, Spyro Reignited Trilogy, those are also remastered too. They're not just collections, but to get those games on modern platforms, especially for new people, it's like you're getting so many new experiences. But even for old fans, especially if they're older games, like getting to re-experiencing those games officially in the modern age, I think people underestimate how big of a deal that is. Because yeah, like I said, the argument I brought up earlier, like yeah, you can technically emulate and pirate these games, like for sure, but A lot of us don't want to do that. We either don't want to deal with the hassle, we don't want to play on PC. I mean, you can set it up on other consoles for sure. Or, you know, we just want to play the game officially and be able to support the original company, the original publisher, the original developers who made those games, you know, and to show our support of these going forward. Now, here's an example of one that definitely fans seemed less than thrilled about. This was the Mario 3D All-Stars collection. This was a weird year. This was 2020 when this released, being a collection of Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and Mario Galaxy. And this one was definitely a little strange because they really didn't do much to change up especially Mario 64. People were really hoping for like at least widescreen, which I will say is a little weird they didn't, because that seems almost like the bare minimum, even if it's not like new HD textures, right? Keep the original art style and aesthetic in play, sure. But like the fact that it's not widescreen is a little strange. From what I hear, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts on this, I hear Mario Sunshine is the best of the three. Galaxy, I know the motion controls didn't translate super well to the Switch is what I hear. I guess in handheld mode it's better, but these are just from some people I've heard who've told me about this. Let me know your thoughts on this collection in the comments below. I mean, it's great to have. I mean, Mario Sunshine off of the GameCube is awesome because that game was pretty expensive. It's gone down in price now, but it was pretty expensive at the time on the GameCube. And I mean, even Mario Galaxy, originally being stuck on Wii, like even if the motion controls aren't ideal on this version, like the fact that it's playable is awesome. Mario 64 is a weird one because we've had Virtual Console so many times, but I mean, it's still cool to have in the collection, I guess. To me, Mario 64 is the least special one in this collection, and they could have done a little more to make this version in particular really interesting. But I mean, it's still good to get some of these fan favorite Mario 3D platformers onto modern platforms, right? Especially, I mean, Sunshine's the one that's a really big deal in my opinion for that. Mega Man. Capcom's been really, I feel like they've really done the most Mega Man collections out of anything. They're getting into the fighting game collections now, which is great. Street Fighter collections, all that. But like, they've done the Mega Man Legacy collection for the classic games. They had 1 and 2. They had the X collection. They had the Battle Network collection. Was it just the 3? No, the Zero ZX collection. And even back in the day, they had, I'm pretty sure they had one on, was it the Genesis? Let me know in the comments below. But also the Mega Man Anniversary collection, which is what I have. I own that on the original Xbox. Not the ideal platform to play those games on, but you know, it's there. Just to have all these games accessible. I feel like this generation in particular, like especially on the Nintendo Switch, has been, I mean, they've released so many games on that thing, but the fact that we have all of these collections on that platform is utterly amazing. Like having all these games accessible. This is another case of like games that have been re-released pretty heavily amongst Virtual Console and other generations, but to have them in one package, and Capcom really does a good job with this, with different like challenge modes and different things they have to add new content, sound tests, artwork, all sorts of stuff in these collections. It's like an extra bonus, especially for people who have played these games before. So they do a lot to really make these collections worth it for sure. So it's good to see more of that. What do I have next? All right, Sony fans, I'm throwing you a bone. I don't really know PlayStation that well. I think there was a God of War collection. Let me know in the comments below. This one, though, I've heard is pretty good. The Uncharted collection. Is this Uncharted 1 through 3? Maybe. Let me know in the comments below. I don't think this includes 4. I've also never played the Uncharted games, but here you go. Especially to have these older games. These were what? Were these all PlayStation 3? Uncharted 1 through 3? Like I said, let me know in the comments below, Sony fans. I'm not as familiar with this series, but just fan favorite games of the Uncharted games, have them in one collection. Oh, Bluepoint did this too. Okay, have them all in one collection. People can just play it. You know, I don't have much else to say about these. It's just good to have it in one go. This one I feel like maybe not as huge of a deal because this launched what on PS4 and these games were originally on PS3, so not like a massive jump in generational leaps. It's still awesome to have and still like impressive. But I think the big deals are really when you like multiple video game console generations down the line, all of a sudden these obscure old games come back on modern platforms. I think that is honestly a huge deal. This is still awesome to see though for people who either never played these games and can finally pick them all up together on PS4, or you know, for fans who just want to have a more ultimate experience. No pun intended. This is one of my favorite collections, honestly. I still own this, and this is one of my favorites. This is Sonic's Ultimate Genesis Collection. This I have on the Xbox 360. It was released on PS3, I believe, as well. Not on the Wii, from what I understand, but definitely the Xbox 360. Fantastic collection. This collection has what, like 40 games? 40 like different Genesis and some arcade versions of games. Interviews, artwork. It's like, there's some really cool extra stuff here. There are a lot of unlockable games. I think most of the arcade games are unlockable. There's also some like, I think, is it Game Gear or Master System games unlockable in this collection, which you have to do by beating certain challenges in certain games. This collection was what got me invested in, or got me like exposed to a lot of like Genesis games: Streets of Rage, Alien Storm, Altered Beast, Golden Axe, Phantasy Star. And I mean, to be honest, this is the first time I played the Sonic Genesis games was on this collection, as well as like Spinball and 3D Blast. We don't have to talk about those. This is how I first experienced it in a really neat collection here. Alex Kidd's another one I checked out on here. Comic Zone, of course. I'm forgetting about so many here. This collection's nuts to me. This is a ton of games. Now, granted, Genesis games were also on Virtual Console. And like, yeah, they're definitely dated. Oh, I love Rise Star. They're definitely dated by now. But like, it was still, at the time, like to get all these Genesis games. Now Sega re-releases Genesis games like no one's business, right? They have so many Genesis collections now between all sorts of generations of platforms, but like this was such a cool one to me. This really felt like the ultimate collection to me. And I still go back occasionally and play some games there. Echo the Dolphin as well. Unfortunately, I experienced that here. But it's like, that's an awesome collection. I love that Ultimate Genesis collection. That one's nostalgic for me. More Nintendo collections. Nintendo did a few collections of the first party stuff. I never bought this one, but this was the Kirby Dreams collection on the Wii, which had a lot of the classic games. I think it had, what, Dreamland 1 through 3? 6 of Kirby's. It had Superstar and Kirby 64. And Kirby's Adventure, like the classic 6 games in one collection on Wii. Kirby was doing really well on the Wii, to be honest, between this, Epic Yarn, Return to Dreamland, and like to have this collection. The Wii's an interesting choice of platform there, but I mean, if you could hold the Wii remote sideways, you can probably do it. Some phenomenal games in this collection, and the fact that like they did this, like, I feel like collections aren't as characteristic of Nintendo. They did a couple Mario ones. We'll get into another one in a second. I'm kind of going slowly older and older, or at least I'm trying to. I guess this actually might have been... Oh, and they had the episodes of the Right Back At You animated series. That was so cool. Bonuses like this are really cool. I feel like they don't do a ton of collections, right? Have they ever done a Zelda collection? I guess if you count what, like Link to the Past with 4 swords, kind of. That's, I don't know, that's a little bit of a stretch. It was great to see them with Kirby do that. I mean, Kirby has some fantastic games on older platforms. Bring them on, and yeah, this came with a book and a soundtrack. Like, that's awesome. That was more of a special collection, but still super duper cool. Got a couple more here I want to highlight. Sonic Jam. Shout out to World of Long Plays for this playthrough because I couldn't find a trailer. This was an interesting one because this one had pretty much new content, although it's a collection of the classic Genesis Sonic games. But you had a 3D fully explorable hub world. Let me see if I can find an example of it. Here we go. Like, the fact that you have this fully 3D explorable hub world. This was one of Sonic's first transitions into 3D. And, like, you could, yeah, explore this whole open hub zone and, like, do all sorts of stuff interactable with it. It's almost like a tech demo for Sonic in 3D, really. I want to say this was after Sonic R. Let me know in the comments below. I think this was released in 98, whereas Sonic R was, what, 97, maybe? Just kind of a cool little extra thing. Like, yeah, it's just a collection of the older games, but adding new features. I love when these companies go above and beyond and include new stuff like this in it, like Konami did with the Castlevania Dominus collection. But like, you know, even if it's just a collection of the older games, like that's plenty. But adding extra stuff like this is always kind of fun. Finally, not much more to talk about that. This is the oldest one I can think of. I'm sure there are like Atari 2600 collections of games. This one though, Mario All-Stars, right? This is the game I think of when people say, oh, like video game collections, why do they keep doing those recently? I feel like they gotta start making more newer games. They've been doing this for literally 30 years. Case in point, Mario All-Stars, right? A collection of the first 3 NES Mario games. I think it had both Lost Levels and Mario 2 USA, I believe, yeah. And then, of course, Mario 1 and Mario 3 all in one package with new graphics on the Super Nintendo. And this was after... Actually, this might have had Mario World as well. Maybe not. Let me know in the comments below. I never played this one. Shout out to, oh, what's the... Pack Attack 04082 for this playthrough. Just, yeah, they've been doing these collections forever. Even Nintendo. Like, even these big companies have been doing these for a long time. And it's... You know, it's something that's great. I mean, a case like this is... I mean, it's cool because it's like, oh, you get to experience these older games in 16-bit graphics, right? So it's like kind of like the Uncharted situation. It's not as big of a leap for sure, but it's still really cool to see these games with more modern visuals, more accessible than ever, right? Collections like this are especially good for people who have never played these games, which, I mean, if you've never played Mario at this point, that's kind of crazy, but I mean, it's possible for sure. No, I don't want to see an ad. So it's, you know, it's one of those things. Let's go back here. Let's end it with more Capcom Fighting Collection 2 because I'm super hyped for this. Yeah, it's one of those things that, just to wrap up here, I've already been talking for 20 minutes. It's supposed to be a casual, quick video. What happened? I just want to gush about older games coming back in the modern platform because you have them all, right? The value proposition is kind of crazy. I mean, a lot of these games are older and aren't worth as much as they used to be back in the day. According to the retro market, sometimes they're worth more, but you're getting so many of these games officially in one collection, especially like, for example, this has what? This is 8 or 7 games. I think it's 8. Maybe it's 7. I don't know. Anyways, ton of games here. So many games here for the value proposition you're getting with stuff like updated online, with stuff like soundtracks, art, all sorts of stuff. Or in cases like Castlevania and Sonic Jam, you get like pretty much brand new content. Even if it might be minimal, you're still getting brand new stuff in here. Like, that is really cool. That's when they go above and beyond with these. But this is just a good thing because especially, yeah, for the newer collections that maybe don't have as much of a generational leap between the original release and when the collection releases, it's good for especially new players to jump in, have a game with a fresh coat of paint, more accessible than ever, and get to experience a lot of those games at once. With collections like this, where it's a lot of much older games that haven't been re-released many times, it's really cool for even new fans and old fans alike to be able to re-experience these games with more modern accessibility in the modern age with online stuff like that. It's just, and it's a great way to kind of, yeah, dig up some old IP, throw them out there for the fans, and then, you know, if enough people buy the game, maybe they say, okay, let's make a Power Stone 3. Let's make, what, Rival Schools 3, is it? I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. I'm not as familiar with some of those series. Another Capcom vs. SNK, another Marvel vs. Capcom that's not like Infinite. You know what I mean? Like, this is a great, not only is it great to bring these old games back, it's a great opportunity for potentially supporting these series and showing these companies that, yes, we would like to see more modernized versions of some of these fan favorite games in the modern era. I don't really see any negative side to gaming collections because of that. I really don't. I can understand the frustration of wanting a new series, but you got to test the waters first and see how a collection will sell, see who's interested, see who's vocal about it, and then go from there. And then maybe if it does well enough financially, you know, you got to make it worth it to these companies to make a new game. So that is going to do it for this video, just ranting about, or just discussing video game collections. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What are some of your favorite video game collections? Was it one of the ones I mentioned here? I forgot a bunch. I know there's been a bunch of Ace Attorney ones too I forgot to mention. Let me know in the comments below. Like Pac-Man arcade collections, there's so many. There's so many collections, I couldn't name them all in this video. Let me know your favorites in the comments below. Otherwise, I will catch you all on the next video or live stream. And until then, take care, keep on fighting.